the hell am I doing? Hey Rangers, welcome to Super Important Views. My name is Steve, and today I'll be going over some of my 12-volt Godzilla plushes with Godzilla, Anguirus, and Mothra. This is a request from Winterzilla. Glad to put this review out for you. I also had these guys in my collection for a long time now. Some of my favorite stuffed animals that we own as of right now. And with the recent review of that Toynami one and that having a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, I want to put out some plushes that I actually adore. Because one thing about these guys that some people might not know is that the Anguirus and Godzilla were actually a part of my wedding, which what we did was Godzilla got dressed up as the groom, Anguirus is dressed up as the bride. You would think Mothra, but my wife just likes Anguirus a lot more, so he was kind of dressed up with the little gown and everything. It was kind of adorable. And we had these guys sitting in the little gift area, which everybody thought they were super adorable and cute. And they also worked really well because we're just nerds at heart and love our kaijus. So these guys will always hold a special place in my collection. Just wanted to bring these guys out to your guys' attention if you guys have actually never seen these stuffed animals. And without further ado, let's get into this review. Alright, so first we're going to go over Godzilla's details, which he does look a little bit worn out. But that's because I've actually had this guy for a long time now. Unlike the Toynami one, so a little bit of his fabric is a little bit more worn out, especially you see here at the dorsal spine. Some of the fabric is peeling just a tad. But it's nothing too major. That sculpt looks very Godzilla-esque. We even have at the top part here some sewn-in dorsal spines look really nice. Really like his little eyes, nice white and black, very piercing. Kind of reminiscent of the Showa Godzilla in a way. Like his teeth, where there's this really nice bone color fabric here. They have the same kind of hard texture that the Toynami one has, so they actually hold their shapes pretty well. Mine's kind of bending a little bit over time, but it's nothing too major. Has a nice blood red pattern for the inside of his mouth, really nice. Same with the tongue here too. Kind of blends in. Maybe even the one thing would have been maybe nice to see is maybe this be more of a pink shade just so it stands out a little bit. Because as it looks right there, kind of blends in very well with the mouth. Has a very nice elongated neck. Really actually like the shape of the dorsal spines here. Also like that they're also individually sewn on here. So they look really nice while also having a little bit of depth to them. And a little bit of varying sizes. So actually looks really nice on this guy. Comes all the way down to the back to the base of his tail. And then just segregates into this one row of spines right here. Which is more of a simple stitch pattern. But still looks really nice. Like in terms of the dorsal spines, I love this Godzilla for that. Even for his arms, they look really nice. And also what's cool about this guy too, is that for his hands, it actually goes into a more leather for his nails here. So it kind of gives a little bit of a varying textures from his hands to his claws, which look really cool. Also this nice bone coloring right here. His chest area looks very Godzilla-esque. We have his elongated pecs, look really good. Maybe I'd like to see a little bit of a bubble here too, because usually this kind of stretches out with the specs. But I still like the differentiating features. Overall, body looks very dinosaur, but that's how Godzilla should look. For his legs are actually pretty slim. Maybe one thing that would have been cool on this guy too is maybe the legs were bulked up a little bit. But it kind of has more of that Final Wars appearance where it's a little bit more slim looking. Still has the gigantic Godzilla feet with the 4 toes here. With a little bit extra cotton kind of shoved into that nail. But still, nails look very cool overall. Really like the stitching for the feet to kind of give him his toes. Which is more to the same, kind of like the Toynami one, where the stitch work for the segregation right here is actually not actually stitched into the fabric here. But it does hold up very well and is fixed in there really good. And then you also have the stitch work here where you get the separation for his tail segments here too. Look really nice. Comes all the way down to the tip of his tail. Because in terms of details overall for this guy, pretty basic. You just pretty much get 3 color tones on this guy for the most part, except for the blood red for his mouth, which is actually one of the more visually striking features on this stuffed animal here, is that red right up there on the face kind of helps to showcase him a little bit more in your collection. And it might have been nice to see a little bit more separation with some extra details on this guy. But for a stuffed animal, still looks awesome though. And then next we'll move on to the Anguirus, which is actually very much different compared to the Godzilla in terms of the fabric that they use. Because on Anguirus, he actually has scaling in his fabric, and it's not stitched on or anything, it's actually a part of the fabric, which gives him a very detailed compared to Godzilla. Like even when you're looking at the shell here too, they have a lot of different patterns here, where like they have the more normal scales like you see on his neck here. But then it gets like to smaller patterns on sections of his back. And it also gets a really tiny patterns right here and right here on his shell portion. which is something that's cool. It helps to give them a lot of varying shapes, especially when you're looking at the shell. Also really love it for the shell too that they sewn on all these little spikes here too, because Anguirus is a spiky back. Stuffed animal better have a spiky back. But it's nice that it's just these little fabric pieces too, so it's not like it's hard or anything, so you can actually still snuggle with this guy. Because it's a stuffed animal, definitely want to snuggle with it. For the head, looks like Anguirus for the most part. It's just a little bit more of a cartoony version. I do like that he's looking up though, especially with like the 55 Anguirus that I have, where that figure is also looking upwards. Just kind of Anguirus' thing to be kind of staring up at the other monsters, because he's still a very huge kaiju in terms of the show of monsters. But since he's on all fours, he's always kind of having to stare up at everybody. So it makes sense that his eyes are going to be looking up too. Especially since they look pretty googly overall. Like they're sticking straight up there. But I do love how they stitched on the horns here too. Looks really nice. Kind of look back a little bit, but that's just stuffed animal stuff. It's going to happen. Has this one nice little horn here. Teeth are a little bit different than what we got the Godzilla, where these are actually very soft fabric right here. Not the hard one like on the Toy Nami, which is something that's really nice. Also, the inside of his mouth is more of a flesh tone and also matches the teeth here. Same with the horns and the spikes and whatnot. And coming to the back of the tail, you also get the same patterns that you got for the shell here too. Where you get like the tiny little scale patterns here for the intersections where the spikes are at. But then the more larger ones for the tail, like you see with the majority of the rest of the body. Now, so you get his front little legs that are stupid adorable with his 4 little toes. Same with his back, where he's definitely sitting on his knees like a baby, which is something I really do love and appreciate on this thing. Also has some pug's hair hanging off of it. And I like too that the feet kind of just lean in towards the back. Something that's very reminiscent of a lot of my Bandai vinyl figures, and just something you really saw in the film a lot of time. Because when he's on all fours, he's not really like perched up on his foot some of the times. He's just kind of like leaning on the ground, and it very accurately represents Anguirus. And also for his lower tummy too, get a little bit of stitch work here to kind of give him a little bit more detail down here. Still blends in very nicely though. Like I love the stitch work on the Toy Vault ones, and the fact that unlike the Toy Nami one, where you can still see the stitch work, but it hides very well here with the fabric, where it's not very distracting when you're looking at this in terms of detail. And next we go over Mothra, who has definitely been the most abused of all the stuffed animals in my collection, because what generally happens to her is she either falls behind the couch and gets stuck back there with all the dust, or she's the one that generally gets thrown around by Arnez. So she's still got a very nice white to her, but some of it's kind of dumbed down a little bit. But it's nothing too bad, where I really love this Mothra mainly because it has the same kind of color patterns as the Heisei one. Looks really nice, like even on the undersections here. Look really good. Also has a different texture than pretty much the other two that we had, where this is more of a, I don't want to say Velcro, but it has a very nice hard feel to it, which is something that's really nice. And it has more of the standard fabric here for the body. But she's just a very colorful stuffed animal, especially with her, I believe it's called the thorax here. We have a lot of orange, whites, and blacks here too for what kind of bends off into looking like a little stinger here. Her face is freaking adorable with her giant purple eyes and a little bit more of the more oranges and blacks right here. Even for the black for her mouth here, it's actually made out of leather, which is something that's really nice. Like in terms of overall textures and feels, she's definitely the most unique out of the 3 of the Toy Vault ones, because you get the more fluffy kind of fabric here, the more harder coarse fabric here, the leather right here, and then her just more standard fabric that she has for the rest of her body. Just something that's really cool. Also like that she has her 6 legs too, which are all individually done, even as her little toes right here. Something I would have maybe have liked to have seen those, maybe these actually be yellow. Kind of like just because of how you see her legs for the claw portion here is actually yellow, while on this little stuffed animal here is just all white. Which isn't anything bad, more of a nitpick, but still looks very impressive in terms of just being a plush. So for just a quick comparison, here we have the Toy Vault Godzilla plushes compared next to some other plushes that adorn my couch, with the WCW Bastion Brawlers, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and Bret the Hitman Hart. And here we have them with some other plushes that always seem to end up on my floor, with the Power Rangers, Megaforce, Blue Ranger, and Red Ranger. And here we have some other Toy Vault plushes with a Griffin and a Chinese Dragon, who is actually way too big for this table. And also because you generally know who this figure is, this is the 18-inch tall Gypsy Danger from NECA. So overall with the Godzilla plushes from Toy Vault, love each and every one of these stuffed animals, with my favorite being Anguirus, just because I think he's the best representation of the Kaiju from the film, with Godzilla being next, mainly because he's just a very large stuffed animal and still looks like Godzilla, and something I really loved about him. He also has really nice stitch work. Even though I nitpicked him the most out of the three, I still really love that guy overall. And then the least being Mothra, mainly because she's just kind of high maintenance, and she's made out of white fabric, tends to dirty her a little easier, and she's the smallest of the three, but also the most colorful. And with these guys I'm showing you, they're on the more higher end of the toy vaults in terms of price, because they've been out for a little while now. They're just a little bit more sought after than some of the others. But there is also stuffed animals like Gabara, Jet Jaguar, and Ebera, which are definitely more on the affordable side. So if you guys don't want to spend the money on the Toy Vault, Godzilla, Mothra, and Anguirus, there is others that are definitely more in cheaper price ranges. So if you guys are looking for cuddly Godzillas to add to your bed today, then I definitely recommend you guys check out the Toy Vaults. But what do you guys think? Do you guys own any of the Toy Vault plushes? What's your favorite stuffed animal, or is Toynami just more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. For a closer picture of these guys on Facebook, you want to click the link in the description below. Help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe to become a ranger today, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.